Live from the Panera Studios, it's the Reading with Robin show, brought to you each week by my friends at Panera Bread, where it's food as it should be, and soup season is upon us. Panera Bread has some of my favorites, the creamy tomato, broccoli cheddar, and the vegetarian autumn squash. You can sense the pattern. I'm a vegetarian. Perfect for the chill in the air and that warm feeling inside. Getting mine for lunch today. Hope to see you at Panera Bread. Reading with Robin also brought to you by the Book Box. It's not too early to start thinking about that perfect holiday gift for the book lover in your life. A carefully curated box with the best books of the season, plus a few special treats, is the best gift ever. Please visit thebookbox.info for more info. And now, enjoy the show.
It is always a pleasure to have Brenda Janowitz on Reading with Robin, and especially on Pub Day Tuesday. She's here to talk about her favorite books, mine, and the ones that we have in common, which are many, Brenda. Writing for Popsugar.com, so many, most recently of The Dinner Party, which was one of my favorite books for 2016. It works well for Thanksgiving as well as Passover. You are welcome, and welcome back to Reading with Robin, Brenda Janowitz.
Thank you so much. I love being here. I love doing this show so much, Robin, as you know.
I love having you on. I especially love our pregame show, which luckily for everybody involved is not taped. So just leave it there. There's nothing like readers chatting about books they love, and I so enjoy following you on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. Visit Brenda at BrendaJanowitz.com. I loved your article on Bustle about why you'll never do NaNoWriMo. Explain NaNoWriMo for everybody. I thought that was really great.
Oh, thanks. That was so much fun. Yeah, so I don't even know how to say it, but it's National Novel Writing Month. So I guess NaNoWriMo? Is that what you said?
I was going to say nano, but yeah, NaNoWriMo.
Hey, that works too. Yeah. So it's National Novel Writing Month, and basically it's when the entire month of November is dedicated to writing your novel. It's this nonprofit. You go on the website, you register, and then for the entire month of November, you log in your word count all month long. And while you're going, you get inspiration, published writers give tips, and it's this whole writing community, which in theory sounds absolutely amazing. And then at the end of it, if you've completed 50,000 words, which technically isn't really a full book, but it's, you can call it a first draft. So if you've done that and you're registered on the website, you then get this shiny little web badge that says winner, which of course,
who doesn't want a winner badge? Yeah.
I want one very badly. So, it's this great thing, and I think it's great. It's encouraging people to write and tell their stories, and now in today's world, women's stories are just more important than ever. Well, everyone's stories, just storytellers and writers, all of that. It's just more important than ever. So National Novel Writing Month is just so great. But I was talking to Christina, the books editor at Bustle, and I was telling her how I would never do it. And she was so intrigued by this idea. So I wrote an essay about it. And what I was writing about is that I've realized something, and it's that I'm one of those writers who just does not have a routine. I just sort of do what I can when I can. I write anywhere and everywhere, but I don't necessarily write every day, and I just sort of make it happen within the confines of my life and sort of living my life. So sometimes I wake up at 5 a.m. and I write before the kids get up. Sometimes I write when the kids are in school. Sometimes I write after they go to bed. I can write, but I can write anywhere. Sometimes I'll write in the parking lot. I'll just have the voice memo app on my phone going, and I'll dictate an entire chapter.
I love that. That's a great idea.
So for me, saying I'm just going to write like crazy November, it wouldn't work because it's unrealistic for me and my lifestyle. And I think that encouragement is important. It's really hard to get 300 pages down. It's really hard. Some days it's hard to get one page down. So this idea, this pressure to sort of finish 50,000 words in 1 month just wouldn't work for me. So that's what I wrote about for Bustle.
I thought it was really clever. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. Some people it works for them. There are some people who just sort of like do a first draft. They've got their 50,000 words, and then they go back to edit. But for me, I feel like the 50,000 would just be so rough and so far away from a real completed first draft that I don't even know how I'd go back to it. It would be sort of like too depressing to look at. So it wouldn't work for me. But I think it's great if it does work for you, you know.
And there have been some big books that have come out of that. And I love projects, and I like the idea of it. And I follow some of the people who are participating. If you would like to read about why Brenda will not do this, it's on bustle.com, and it's I'll never do NaNoWriMo because I know my own limitations and strengths as a writer. And I think that's so important to know what works or what might work. I like your routine. I like the way you sort of fit it in, and you do a lot. We were talking off air, and on the phone is Brenda Janowitz, author most recently of The Dinner Party, which I loved and posted all over Reading with Robin about, and such a fun book to talk about it. And as we're coming up on Thanksgiving, it works well for Thanksgiving as well as Passover. So it's that dinner party.
Lots of people are going to be people will be gathering at the holiday table. And old grudges will be revisited.
Well, if the old grudges take the place of any political chat that might saunter on,
you know what?
I think old grudges are better. Here, let's hear it for old grudges. Let's hope for as many old grudges as possible. Anything
like
but
the way
that.
You think.
Thank you, Brenda. Visit her at BrendaJanowitz.com. Also find her on Facebook and Twitter and on Instagram. Also, wonderful performance, chapter wrap on Madhouse TV. You were there with Carol Honig from Turn of the Corkscrew. Can you talk about that just a little bit? So is that a regular segment that they have on Madhouse TV? I didn't know how it was all sort of connected.
Yes. It's a TV show they do every Monday night on Madhouse TV. It's called The Chapters Wrap, and the focus is always on writing and different authors and the craft of writing. So they invited Carol Honig and her partner, Peggy Zirin. They're the co-owners of Turn of the Corkscrew bookstore and wine shop. You can't forget the wine.
I know you love it there. You can't definitely not forget the wine.
Oh, love it there. It's this fabulous independent bookstore in Rockville Center here on Long Island. And, part of what we talked about last night is that independent bookstores are more important than ever. Just supporting your own community is just so incredibly important today.
Absolutely.
So we talked a lot about that. And unfortunately, Turn of the Corkscrew has really been suffering lately because they're doing construction on their street. And people can't get to the store.
Oh, no.
And Yeah. And as you know, Christmas time is like the biggest time for any retail store. Yeah. So it's just been really rough on them. So we talked a little about that. We talked about independent bookstores. And then during my segment, we talked a little about my book. And I don't know if you know this, Robin. Carol and I go way back. I've known Carol Honig. Yeah, we've known each other for about 8 years since I moved out to Long Island. And I was telling her I knew it was 8 years because I remember at that first lunch we went out, Ellen Meister and Sarah Lee Rosenberg had organized it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was so worried at this lunch. I was pregnant, so I was eating just these massive quantities, but I wasn't telling anyone I was pregnant yet. And I was like, this is not the way to make a first impression.
Well, it is. It is definitely the way to make a first impression. Just depends on the impression that you'd like to meet. Point. So you met Carol there, and you connected me to Carol because we did a wonderful interview about Turn of the Corkscrew. So because they have this construction going on, it would be a great supportive gesture to go online and order books from them. I'm sure they ship.
They ship, absolutely. And you can just call them. You can go online. They've got a website. They're on Facebook. They're everywhere. And they'll ship. They'll just make it happen. The great thing about an independent business is that, you call and you speak to someone who really loves books.
Yes,
and they
absolutely.
recommend books to people. Right, and they've read them. And it's not like going to some big box store where people haven't read the books. They're not invested. Carol's a writer. She loves books.
Yeah.
It's just this different experience talking to someone like that. So,
there's nothing
we had a lot of fun. What? Yeah.
No, there's nothing like that. We want to support our independent bookstores. They're community centers and community builders and idea exchange avenues. And do they have autographed copies of The Dinner Party on hand, I hope?
Of course, they always do. Yes.
Good. Okay, good. So if you'd like an autographed copy, today is Tuesday. If you call up at Turn of the Corkscrew and ask them to just overnight a copy, perhaps you'd have it for a great host gift for Thanksgiving. Plenty of time.
I love it.
Yeah.
Plenty.
Plenty of time. Absolutely.
I love it.
Wait till 4:00 even, and then give Carol a call. But that's the thing, when you're bringing gifts for the holidays, I think autographed books or just books that you love, cookbooks, whatever kind of books, are just such a great gift to bring.
I couldn't agree more.
There's so much food, right, and all of that. Yeah, I think it's just a perfect gift. We had Point Street Reading Series last week, and I was telling everybody that. I said, I've done all of this for you. Just go over there, buy books. The authors will sign them. What better gift is that to bring to the? You'll be invited back time and again with that.
That's right.
With that perfect book.
Right.
And
yes, it's just so much more personal than giving someone a candle or a bottle of wine. It's just so nice to give a book, and like you said, especially a book you loved.
Well, the thing is, readers are, it's just so important to be reading and to be sharing books and ideas and to keep all of that conversation going, and books do that.
That's right.
You just bring a book in. I guarantee if you go to wherever you're going or it's your home, you have books out, people will come by, pick them up, and they will have something to say. No matter what it is, they will have something to say, or it will remind somebody of another book they read, and the conversation will take you away from all those old grudges, keep you away from the political things.
You are so right.
Plus, right, if things get tense, you grab one of those books, you find a corner, you grab maybe like a little something, to eat, and you have your own little dinner party in some other space in the house, right? I'm just, this is all about, I'm just sort of imagining the whole day. But if you are looking for books to bring and books to put on your list for holiday time, you've got Brenda's awesome top 29. So I have to ask you how you got to 29. Top books of 2016, and they're on Popsugar right now. You can go to popsugar.com. It's where I learned about that wonderful site, only really through you, through going to your Popsugar recommendations, which I love. So how did you come to 29, and, why 29?
Well, it's an interesting story. When my editor asked me to do a roundup of all of the best books of 2016, I said, no problem, that's easy. I'll just go to my past lists and just pull what I think the best ones are. So as I'm doing this, we're emailing back and forth, and I come up with a list of 45. And she says, have about 10 books on it. And I said, how about 45?
Wow.
Said, no. She said, let's make this a really curated list and really try to get it as short as possible. So I really thought hard about the books. I tried to almost create the list from memory, and I said, what are the books that I'm still thinking about now?
Great point, yes.
Yeah, so these are the books that I'm constantly talking about and still thinking about. And, like when I'm thinking about Be Frank With Me by Julia Claiborne Johnson or The Nest by Cynthia Dupree Sweeney, I'm like, when's their next book coming out? I'm still thinking about them and still thinking about their books. And Julie Buxbaum, Tell Me Three Things, she just announced her next book. Like, these are the things I'm getting excited about.
I saw that. So, I was very excited to see that. Yeah, it's fun when you see a favorite author or a book that you just read and think, wait, another one is coming. It's very, very exciting. And we're talking about Brenda's top 29 of 2016, and hats off to you. It's very hard to narrow down a list, and that's the thing. When I always say, like, our top 10 movies of all time is like 40 or 50 movies are the top 10. It's just, it's impossible. But your point of, if you were to run into somebody and they said, what should I read right now, or what did you love this year, that you don't really, you almost even have to think too far. You just sort of come up, and I know you and I were talking off air about being very visual. So when someone asks me that question, immediately my eyes just sort of mentally go to my shelf, and the covers jump out. Certain covers just, right? And it's a handy 100%. Little party trick because, right, the topic comes up all the time. I don't know about you, but that's the first
all the time.
Thing.
All the
Way
time.
Before, how are you doing? Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. But it's funny, when you're giving book recommendations, you always have to think about the person. So a book that I might recommend to this person, I might not recommend to that person. So I'm always mindful of the types of books people want to read. So I did try to make the list a little varied. So I have, an essay collection. I have one that's a mystery. I have romance. Like, I have a little of everything because different people like different things. And
well,
I like all of these books for different reasons.
It's nice to have a tailored list. Yeah. The other thing I sort of obsess about when people ask for a title, and I always put a disclaimer because I could maybe figure out genre or book, sort of thematic situation in a book when I'm recommending it. But sometimes there are wee little triggers in a book that I can't be held responsible if somebody's going through an illness, and there's like, I hate to ever say an illness could be a throwaway part of a book, but I always say I really, really love this. I remember it as being very funny. I tend to have a dark sense of humor. Good luck. I don't know, because that there's that guilt, but I like that you've sort of broken this up into genre and you're able to sort of tailor it. And it's such a gift to be able to share a title with somebody, and book lovers especially appreciate that. And people who enjoy what you're reading and recommending and writing will love this list. So they can go to Popsugar or find it on your Facebook page. It's tweeted out all over the place. So let's start at the beginning of the year. And also, Brenda, what happens to those books that come out now? It's like the Academy Awards. I feel bad for certain movies that get overlooked. So what do you do?
Well,
you do the winter books.
I've already read those. Yeah, I'm already into my winter list. So I've read my books for December.
Okay,
so I did feel confident in doing this list.
Okay, good. I just was getting nervous for one little second.
I know.
So we're good with the list. All right, so starting way back in January, we'll go through these kind of quickly because people can also, there's the book covers are there, and you can see the books and connect them with what Brenda has to say about each one. So you started out the year with The Swans of Fifth Avenue by Melanie Benjamin, one of my favorite books as well. Really special.
Right. It was just so gorgeous, and it was so fascinating. And usually, historical fiction's not my go-to, but the way Melanie Benjamin does it, it's just so beautifully told, and you're just so captivated. And it almost doesn't even matter what the real story is because her storytelling is just so evocative.
It really is, and we did that one as a Reading with Robin book club pick. And I know I'm a little historical fictioned out. I'm a little more contemporary fiction, although there's always like a, but I love this, but that one, but I agree. Swans of Fifth Avenue, that gorgeous cover. And you've mentioned also, and we love Julia Claiborne Johnson, Be Frank with Me. I can't believe that was last February already.
I know. It's out in paperback now. And I love that one because there's something about it that's so LA, but it's tempered with this relationship between this assistant who's supposed to be watching over this literary legend, but she instead ends up watching over this literary legend's 9-year-old son. And that's just such a delicious premise. And he's really eccentric, and there was just something really funny about it, but also really wise and smart. Really enjoyable book.
Huge fan of hers, and also a debut, and there is just nothing. It's one of my favorite.
I love debuts.
I love debuts. I wish some of my favorite authors could write another debut. I guess you can only, certain things you can only go through once, I suppose.
That's right.
I suppose that's just one of them. Followed up by The Ramblers by Aidan Donnelly Rowley.
Yes, also out in paperback right now. And actually perfect for this week because the book takes place the week before Thanksgiving weekend.
Exactly. That is really good timing. And that one's out. So some of these, the ones that came out in the spring were early. They're out in paperback. So we're talking about, there's that, because they usually come out about 9 months to, I don't know, it used to be more a year. Now it seems to be.
I think it depends, but you're right. It's happening a little quicker now, But that was just another gorgeous novel about 3 very different people, and I loved, it's talking about the rambles in Central Park, but these people are sort of rambling. They're these lost souls. It was just really beautifully written.
Very clever. I love books that take place in Manhattan. Also, I'm going to skip a little bit just because we're never going to get to all of these. I loved The Nest, and you can
love The Nest.
I know, I forget what she goes by on Twitter now. She's sort of did some kind of amalgamation of her name for her Twitter handle, or something, but it's by Cynthia Dupree Sweeney, we'll say. I really enjoyed that one as well with the it's nothing like a book about siblings. Throw some money into it and watch the fun ensue. I remember thinking, because that was March, so I think I read that one last winter. I remember thinking that they wrapped it up really well and not what you'd expect. When I remember a book that far ahead, or that whatever long ago, it's a good one really stay with you. So I
I agree with that.
Is that out on paper yet or no? I haven't seen that.
I'm trying to remember because when I was gathering the covers, I was trying to, here, let me click on the link. I'm not sure if that one's out in paperback. I think it's either out or coming out in a minute.
Yeah, I wondered, that's one of those covers that I loved, so I was wondering if they kept the same cover.
They did keep oh, no, it's not out in paperback yet.
Okay. Well, thank you for doing research as we're talking and doing.
Yes.
You are full service interviewing. I love that. I know. It's amazing some of the things I've done while I'm doing the show.
I do it all for you. Whatever.
I appreciate that.
Your wish is my command.
Brenda is the kind of guest you definitely want to have, and we're talking about her 2016 top picks, 29 of them available now at popsugar.com. And you were talking also about Julie Buxbaum, our mutual admiration for her. Tell Me Three Things was her YA, and you said her YA debut, and there's a new one coming out as well.
That's right. And what I love about it, it's really like a crossover in the vein of Rainbow Rowell. It's YA, but you don't have to be young to read it. It appeals, I'm an adult. I'm 15 inside, but that doesn't mean I always like reading young adult. A lot of times I want to read about what's happening in my life. But this book, it doesn't matter what age you are. You will just love this story.
Well, I think that's what it is about YA, because inside our 15-year-old selves are still in there, and a well-done book is a well-done book. And I particularly there are many YA titles that I love. Perks Being Wallflower is one of my favorites. And so those are the kinds of books, right? And then also if you have kids that are reading around the same age, then there's something to talk about. And I think that's one of the really fabulous things. Or if your children are younger, reading the middle readers with them. There's so much that you can discuss via a book, and sometimes it's the tougher topics. So fiction is fun for everyone. And then one of my very favorites from this year is The Dinner Party by Brenda Janowitz. Now, Brenda, you know how much I love this. I was all over this in terms of the holiday for Passover. I drove Brenda crazy with all of my crazy suggestions for setting the table with this book.
Fun.
It was such a wonderful book. I loved the way it centered, you're welcome, around this holiday and all of the characters coming together and their stories and the expectations, and just, I remember you saying you didn't mean it to be as funny. It was a really friggin' funny book. And I remember thinking, so much. How could Brenda not realize this is so funny? I just found it endearing, heartwarming, page-turning. I know my copy is so messed up. I don't even know if I have I have a real copy. You're welcome. I know mine is all bent up and folded back and probably full of coffee stains, which means it was really loved. But it was, The Dinner Party you don't want to miss The Dinner Party. I really, really loved it. You're welcome.
Thank you so
what
much.
are you working on, as long as I can be one of those pesky people and you don't mind asking?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm working on novel number 6, and it's about sort of the space I'm living in right now, marriage and parenthood when you have small children. But it's also about this idea that, you get married, you have kids, you move out to the suburbs, and maybe when you're living your life as quote-unquote mommy and you're no longer working your high-powered job, there's this loss of power you feel. And especially as women get older, there's this sort of loss of power. And so I wanted to explore that idea, just women at this stage in our life, sort of where we find ourselves. And I thought of the idea back when I was working, before I even wrote The Dinner Party, and I remembered mentioning it at a reading, and I just saw women's heads going up and down, and I thought it was so interesting that so many different people could relate to this feeling that your life has changed in such a meaningful way, and you have this new role, but it's hard to settle into, and it changes other aspects of your life, and it's not entirely welcome in some ways. So it's really just about sort of all of that stuff. And I think it's a really great topic for right now, with the election. People are thinking about female power, and so hopefully it's really topical, and hopefully it'll sell soon.
I hope so too.
It
sounds very topical, and when you see women with their heads nodding, you must have said to yourself, aha, I have tapped into something. And that's the community that I love to surround myself with. People who are honest about how they're feeling, how things have worked out, what you imagined it would be, how it could be better, different, or just completely nothing like you expected. So many women are really re-examining things, and life just keeps on moving. And so
that's right.
I am very excited about it. Okay, I will not nudge you, and I will be here to receive word when word is out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing that. I don't usually put people on the spot and ask, but I figured you'd roll with it. And
that's right.
Continuing on our list and skipping around just a little for the sake of time, you can visit popsugar.com, BrendaJanowitz.com, find her on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. What's your favorite place to hang out on social media when you're not doing everything else you do?
Gosh, that's such a tough one. I mean, I've been splitting my time mostly between Facebook and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Those are like my two big social media. And of course, Popsugar. That's like my app.
Yes. Popsugar is like your nesting place, yes.
Yeah, before I wrote for Popsugar, I was like their biggest fan, basically. I was obsessed with it.
Perfect.
And
didn't know that.
The funny thing is now that I write for them, I'll find myself scrolling through the app and I'll be like, oh, that looks like something I had that idea. And then it's like, oh, no, I wrote that.
So you found the perfect place to land. I love that. That's awesome.
Right.
And, so continuing on this list, and people can go to popsugar.com and find Brenda's list and see for yourself, and then order gifts for yourself, for your friends, and everybody loves to receive books, or they should be. Everybody should be reading.
That's right.
The Assistants by Camille Perry, one of my top favorite. I know you and I have talked about it. Love that book. So excited. That book, if you've missed The Assistants by Camille Perry, the good news is you haven't. It's still out there. And I know it's out in paper in the spring, maybe? I forget.
I think that's right, the spring.
Yeah, but don't wait. Just buy it now in hardcover. It is so fabulous. Isn't it? It was probably, I can't say what my favorite book was because I have so many favorites. It was just 2016 was an awesome year. But
it really was.
And then also the pleasure of having Camille here at Point Street Reading Series.
She's so great.
Most humble, low-key, brilliantly unassuming, prior life as a librarian. Just love her.
I know.
And the what if.
Who doesn't love a what if?
Refunnel the money, right? And it's
that's right.
So
that's right.
Funny. Also so funny. Well, now I'd be skipping because I know The Regulars by Georgia Clark is also on your list. Also Smart and Funny, I think, are my favorite. That's like my favorite combo. Smart and funny.
Yeah.
Smart and funny.
Yeah. This book was just so smart, and the premise is sort of so delicious. And also, this is a debut, and The Assistants was Camille's debut, and we love debuts.
Love I do. Debut Diva. I think that's going to be my new hashtag. Debut Diva. But George's book, too, and she was also just here reading. That's the other real big treat I love. And you've got to come here and read at Point Street Reading Series. We got to get you here.
I do. Yes.
I think that would be so much fun to have you. I mean, the community will love you, and it's another awesome community of readers. And Georgia was just here to read. Okay, now I'll go backwards because we also both love The After Party by Anton DeSclafani so much.
The After Party. It was so, the writing is so gorgeous, and the story, another just really seductive read about female friendship.
It was
and
seductive.
It also, this glamorous social scene in 1950s Houston. It was just so interesting. All the details were so wonderful. And talk about covers. That cover was outrageous.
It was
right?
That emerald green cover with those pearls and I love The After Party. That was one that I told so many people to read. And when I think of favorite books of 2016, I think Brenda Janowitz loved Sweet Bitter more than anybody else ever loved the book. And that was that also a debut?
That was a debut. Yeah, that was that fun story. Stephanie Danler was a waitress in a restaurant, and one of the regulars was an editor, and she said, I have a novel. And he was sort of like, everyone's got a novel.
Sure,
and then Sweet Bitter lands on his desk, and he's like, whoa, completely blown away.
Yeah, what a great story.
And, it's such a great story. So it's really about her experience in some part because she has been a waitress at a famous downtown restaurant, and this book is about Tess, who comes to Manhattan and lands a job in a famous downtown restaurant. But it's really, there's something very lush about it, and the food and drink descriptions were just so amazing, and it really was seductive and just sort of drew you in to this world. And, you know, in women's fiction, there's not always a lot of world building because a lot of it takes place in the world that you know. But the restaurant world is something that not a lot of people know about. It's certainly not something I knew about. And so I just really was swept away by this book.
And it's something that people are so fascinated with. I mean, if there's anything hotter than food, which sounds ridiculous, but it's true, right? I mean, so books that surround food or have food in them in a way that she was able to do. And I also love a backstory. So I think that that's just one of those. Who doesn't hope that that will happen? Tell the right person. You never know who's sitting in front of you. Yeah, I know. And she did it. And I am talking with Brenda Janowitz, just to reset the table here, so to speak. She is the author of The Dinner Party, one of my favorite books from 2016. And her Pop Sugar list is up now. It is the tops of 2016, 29 of them. You can visit on popsugar.com and scroll through and see all of these books. If you've missed any of them, take another look, put it on your list. There's no way we can get through all of these. I'll just say
there's just so many good books.
There's so many. Modern Lovers. A lot of ours were the same. The Wedding Sisters. Emily Giffen's First Comes Love. And I feel bad these are also our friends' books, so how can we not say them all? Falling by Jane Green, Truly Madly Guilty. You'll know me. I feel so bad scrolling. And The Wangs versus the World. We both loved Jade Chang's debut.
Amazing.
And The Mothers, also a debut, Britt Bennett's. This was maybe the most amazing year for debuts. Is that possible?
I think that's possible. Yeah, so many great debuts. I mean, The Wangs, The Mothers. I mean, I was so taken.
The Guinevere's was one of my favorites. Yes. The Guinevere's by Sarah Domet. I also wait. I got my list too. We had some in common. By the Numbers, Jen Lancaster's. That was one of my favorites too. That we both had on our list. And Ramona Osabal's Sons and Daughters of Plenty and Ease. I think I got that right.
You were the one who told me about that.
I loved that book. And some of the ones I loved also, I'm working on my list. I guess I should have it out. But there were some memoirs that I loved. High Anxiety that I just did by Kat Kinsman, and Kerry Egan's On Living. Lisa Sugar's Power You're Happy. There's that.
She's so great, and she's just such an inspiration. She really is. Reading that book was so humbling. Just learning about how much she accomplished and how she did it, her story.
That story, I know, just absolutely amazing. And some of my favorites this year also, some amazing cookbooks that I had out that I've talked about. I love cookbooks, even if I don't ever cook a thing from them. I love to collect them. And I don't know if Jason Diamond's memoir is on your radar, Searching for John Hughes, but it was one of my favorite books
my radar.
of 2016. Okay, good, because huge fan of Jason's. You met Jason. You met him.
Yeah, I met him at that dinner.
Yes, that's right. You met him, and and his book looks just about like what the dinner party looks like. This is all messed up in all the best ways, all smushed apart. It was so good, and that one comes out next week. We would be remiss if we don't mention Small Great Things by Jodi Picoult, which came out last month.
Yes.
Could a book be better timed?
Oh my goodness, it's amazing. That book really took my breath away. The amount of research she had to have done to accomplish. I mean, that book is just a major accomplishment, right?
Huge.
To really get the voices down. God, it was so amazing. You know, when I picked up that book, there's a lot of talk about cultural appropriation right now, and I was really nervous when I picked that book up, and I was sort of like, wow, she's taken on a lot, and how could she possibly do it? But she does it, and
she did some. She absolutely did it. And she's got a beautiful author's note if you go to jodipicoult.com and talks about having that right to do it and how much time it took her to sort of get to that place because it was a book she wanted to write for a really long time. It was done with humility, bravery, honesty, and always the Picoult heart. And
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so happy anytime anyone's like written to say how much they enjoyed it and they were thankful to hear about it. And people are still getting used to her books coming out in the fall. It's not that difficult to sort of grasp that Jodi Picoult's books now come out in the fall, but, you know, readers get used to what they're used to. So now after this third fall release, I think people are sort of getting it. They can look. People are funny, right? Especially readers. We're a funny breed. Eligible you have on your list too, right? Is that on there? Or maybe not. Oh, that was on my list. Curtis Sittenfeld's, which I
love that one. I'm like, why wasn't that on my list? I love that book.
Or maybe it was. I don't know.
Fun.
So many books.
That book was too much fun.
It was just it was so funny. Somebody just emailed me to tell me how great it was, and it was because Curtis was here for the Dunes Club, and I knew that it was somebody that wasn't able to make the event. And she said, you must read this book. I said, well, you must have missed my event this summer because Curtis was here. And then she realized she had it because someone picked it up for her. You know, people forget why they have books, just that someone's given it to them. But I was cracking up. I'm like, yeah, eligible. Curtis Sittenfeld rings a bell.
Yeah.
I do remember that. Caroline Leavitt's Cruel, Beautiful World, another one of my very favorites from
that was gorgeous, that one.
2016. I know you're a big TV fan. You have shows that you like or that you binge, but over the weekend, my daughter and I binged Good Girls Revolt on Amazon Prime.
Oh, that looks good.
It is, Brenda, so good. You will love it.
Oh, wow.
Just to give you something else to do. We were talking off air about how crazy our schedules are. But
yes.
And I don't watch nearly enough, and there's so much wonderful writing going on some of these other places, whether it's Hulu or Amazon or Netflix or whatever, these originals. But we watched all 10. I'm very sad that it's over for me, but I'm happy to know it's just beginning for you.
I love that.
Really good, Brenda. Really, really good.
Oh, cool. I'm going to check it out.
Good Girls Revolt. And I think it was a book. I think that's what someone said. I sound like one of those people. I think it was a book first.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, the other one is Younger. Do you watch Younger?
I don't. I only watched the episode with Jen Weiner.
Which was a great, I know, I love that. Don't they say Weiner and she says, it's Weiner. I know.
Yeah, loved it.
I love that she had her
show
TV.
Was really cute.
It's so good, Brenda. Well, that was a great episode with Jen, and I think that might have been right in the middle of all of them. So you have a lot to look forward to. And
yeah, I've heard I must binge that next.
You must, because it's writers, it's readers, it's New York, it's all of it, and there's so much. There's not enough time to do all this, and I really don't love when people tell me what else I can add to my pile. But you and I are close. If you told me to add something to my pile, I know that I would. Thank you. I feel comfortable doing that, and I know you want me to add to my pile, which was the one you told me.
The Sun is also a Star.
Yes, by Nicola Yoon.
Oh, God. This is so amazing. Now, I didn't read her debut novel, Everything, Everything. So I was discovering her, for the first time with The Sun is Also a Star, and I was completely blown away by this book.
Okay,
on its surface, it's just like Julie Buxbaum's. It's young adult, but don't let that fool you. It's a complete crossover. It's for adults. It's for young adults. And, at first glance, the cover's gorgeous, but it's the story of two people who meet. And there's nothing remarkable about that description, but this book is truly remarkable. I mean, it's about so much more than just these two people whose paths cross. It's about the power of fate. It's about love. It's about the entire universe and how we all sort of collide into each other all the time. It was so amazing, and it was one of those books that really stayed with me.
Well,
that's right.
Because sometimes those supposed unremarkable things, when you're paying attention, can just be the most, like, how could I not have recognized that this might have happened? Or, it's really those small things that are just huge. And before I let you go, the aforementioned Jen Weiner, in her performance on Younger, her memoir, which was something that many of us were waiting for many years, and I can only imagine how many people said to Jen, at what point are you going to write a memoir? Hungry Heart, so the best title ever. And I remember, do you remember? I don't remember the original title, but it was funny. Jen does those videos from her closet, which are always entertaining, and she talked about what it was. I'll think of it when we hang up, but I remember thinking it was really funny. It was self-deprecating, of course. And I thought it was great.
I interviewed her. I interviewed her for Pop Sugar, and I thought when it was announced, it was called It's All Material. So I asked her about that. I thought when it was first announced, they said It's All Material. Do you remember that, or did I just make that up?
No, because it was kind of Nora Ephron-ish, but it wasn't.
Well, she said she said the original title was I'm Not Proud, which is
that's what
hilarious.
It was. I'm Not Proud. That's the one. Not It's All Material. Okay, that's what it was. I knew it wasn't what you were just saying. It's All Material. I'm Not Proud. I loved that. I thought that was a great title, but I also love Hungry Heart. And It's All Material sounded like it's all copies, so that's hilarious. Thank you, because I would have had to research that for like 3 minutes. So thank you for the time you saved me. So it's Hungry Heart, also a fabulous title, gorgeous cover, really darling Jen. And they're all essays. Anybody that's followed Jen Weiner for as long as we have and has read so many of her books, I think all of them, and shared her stories that she shares on her blog post and her Twitter and just all of these stories. What's the takeaway from this memoir for you?
Gosh, I mean, so much, but if I really had to narrow it down, the book made me feel like Jen really understood me. There's something about it. It makes you feel less alone. She's just so honest, and some of it is just so brutal, and she just lays it all on the table. And
so hard to do.
It's so relatable. It makes you realize how women, we're so interconnected, and there's so much we can learn from each other. So for me, and Jen has said this, and I agree with this, it did make me feel so much less alone in so many different ways.
Because when women are honest, and there's something different about men being honest, because I think that's pretty much how they go about their days. But when women are really honest, and you're with the girlfriends who will really tell you all of it. And was there anything, when you interviewed her, was there anything she said, I was almost going to go there, but I didn't, or I went as far as I could allow myself to go with all of these? Because the essays are really, they're all quite remarkable. And
she doesn't hold back at all.
Exactly, which is what you want to read when you're reading essays. That's what I want to read when I'm reading essays. Otherwise, I'll read fiction, which I also like reading.
That's right.
But when they're essays, you want to, really feel that. So she really, she sort of felt like she went wherever she wanted to go.
Absolutely. And, what's so much fun about it, she gets really raw and down and dirty, but she has this great sense of humor. So she always, she's always sort of like seeing the light in things and bringing it back to that great sense of humor. So it's enjoyable, and it enables us to talk about these tough topics in a way that's very relatable.
Where would we be without humor? I mean, that's one of the things when I first started reading and Good in Bed, and I will never forget where and when I read that, laughing.
Me too.
Out loud by myself, laughing with a book and tearing up also, but a lot of laughter. And so when somebody can write and make us really look at ourselves or say, that's why that's funny, and Jen has a great way of doing that. So I think that's a great place to leave it. We have given people so much to talk about, read about, and leaving a little TV homework assignment. So,
that's right.
Brenda, I can't wait to have you on again. You can find Brenda at popsugar.com, BrendaJanowitz.com on Twitter, and most happily on Instagram, which I love following your feed. And these you're welcome. These are Brenda's top 29 of 2016. We'll look forward to your winter list, and when you post that, I'll be sure to share it. And
thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you for this. Happy Thanksgiving to
all.
Happy reading, and I will look forward to more with you. We are kindred book souls. That's what we are.
That's right. Thanks so much, Robin.